Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 206th episode of our first YouTube run through House of Light, playing as the archaeologist. I am the librarian of Hush House, and this journal will record what arose from my crime and my curse. The archaeologist's dearest wish when they came to the house was to record a history where their crime could be forgiven or redefined, but you can complete the game by recording any history. You might wish to begin your studies with the Skolakosophy wisdom. I opened a tomb and found too late that it was a prison. The plague that I released is now my shadow, or perhaps I am its reflection. It is too late to set matters right, but it is never too late to protect the future from the past. In Hush House I can do no harm. Perhaps I can even make amends. Now, we are working on advancing our various skills. We've kind of queued up the lessons that we need for the sort of the next minute of leveling, and then we've also queued up the lessons that I need for subsequent levels, to a point actually where I'm reading yet another book. I don't even necessarily know what... Actually, I had a moment where I said I was going to do one, and then I forgot what it was. I think it was Stitching and Binding I was actually going to move up, so if that's true... Well, actually, I could have done Stitching and Binding, I could have done Applebright Euphonies, so I guess the question is, which of these do I want to move up? If I followed the usual rule that I have, it would be Applebright Euphonies, which conveniently is also less work. I don't think I committed too heavily to either of those options. But yeah, so we're handling the last of the lessons that I got. It's kind of nice to see that my to-read list is reduced down to one shelf. However, as I've mentioned a couple of times before, I've sort of ignored my my audio and my visual. Well, I guess books technically are visual too, but I don't have the films and photographs really in the queue. And that will also include the lessons. So I haven't worked out a plan in terms of all of these different lessons. I think one of the big challenges with the films will be they tend to have the same... No, why would I think that? They're all totally different. I think I was mistaking it for the memories, which I believe are predominantly revelation in the case of films. But in any case, in a perfect world, I would have folded in the phonographs and the films a little bit more evenly, but we're in the playthrough that we have right now. It's not that big of a deal for me to work that all out. So I'll figure it out one way or another. But right now we're going to focus on books for the foreseeable future. Now, if memory serves, the old wound is going to go to Sharps here. And I must apologize. I realize that in the context of people watching a playlist, I wind up sort of sounding confused on things that I would have talked about mere minutes before. And I guess, I actually am that forgetful, so I don't think that that's a completely inaccurate, representation of some of my more... Oh, that is a shame. Okay, I had a bit riding on that, so I'll sacrifice the Wormwood Dream just to keep on track. The skill is now level 6. Its power aspects have also increased. But yeah, in addition to being rather forgetful, the fact of the matter is that there's not always going to be the same time between recordings. And I don't know, I think I've talked about this before. I do my best to keep on top of things, but I do try to plan a couple of steps ahead, but the drawback is, especially over multiple recordings, the wires do start to get a bit crossed, so I do things like make a libidic tincture instead of an old wound. So there've definitely been a couple of times where I want to say, it's like, I don't even care if it's not efficient. It's less of a cognitive burden for me to just wait to see how things turn out. So all right, I think we're in a spot where I can afford to just throw another element of the soul at the sweet bones. So I could offer help in correspondence with I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There is no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. Scolicosophy will dissolve the limitations of my shaft. I think that was the last of the upgrades. Okay, stolen histories. The agitator and pamphleteer Alexander Sparrow inveighs against the monstrous serpents, thieves of history. I'm actually going to move this up just as a reserve. Sparrow acknowledges 5 histories, insists the 3rd history may be overrun by coils, and warns the 5th history is already lost. Sparrow, with his usual paranoia, appears to be conflating the horror of the Worm Wars and the Great Writhing with the activities of the Great Hooded Princes. Still, he draws thought-provoking comparisons between the princes, normally conceived as exotic Knocklong, and the widely feared worms. So that can only go with sharps. The Queen's Turn, a 16th century translation of the Barrowchild's account of Lagia's turn, where Lagia, the Queen Unsated, was offered the opportunity to enter the service of the Hours of the Triple Knot as long as she repudiated her brother-lover Antaios. Lagia accepts, setting aside the arts of the Low Red Sun associated with Antaios. She bargains, however, for freedom for her daughters. The Hours of the Triple Knot accept casually, knowing that Lagia has devoured her daughters, but wily Lagia has decided in the secret hollow of her heart that she will adopt any who ask, if they can prove their fierceness. The traditions described here, the ones generally described as hill and hollow, are associated with Lagia before her turn, but now that she is a name of the Red Grail, they might also be safely used before an altar of the Triple Knot. The Locksmith's Dream Trespasses, the 3rd volume of Teresa Galmier's examinations of parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. In this volume, notoriously, Galmier's prose begins to disintegrate, and it is not clear which dreams are in fact her own. The woman in the sand-colored robe has told me, the stairways of the Mansus go ever up, death is down. The mother of ants guards both directions with each of her heads, and so the passage must always be through a wound. I think the white door might be a wound. That's one reason the dead sometimes pass it. I think I have the other half of the secret now, and I hope my reader can put both halves together. Musgrave Sketches. Musgrave, 4th Baron Brandkrug, was widely mocked as the Bleeding Baron and the Lamb de Wolf, but these sketches reveal a complex, somber inner life. Art begins in colors, grows dappled, finally is either mostly darkness or mostly light. Musgrave discusses the temptation of the perfectly minimal palest painting. He has so far managed to resist this temptation, but does guiltily describe success in using sights and sensations with winter aspect to create first a chilly elixir from flowers, which he believes he can refine further into a final pigment. The Ascendant. The edgelong Dardesh boasts of her victories over her brother-enemy Tareg in the days of the Shadowless Empire. Sweeter than wine, the nectar is the blood of my brother. We have raised up armies one against another. We have sated the Blackbone with the sinking of our ships. Dardesh's boasting at length turns melancholy. An edgelong is half a dyad. She may not defeat her hated brother-enemy without ending herself. She doesn't even want to, but she is aware, to her frustration, that she is a piece on the board, an axle on the ox cart, an essential part of the eternal engine of contention which the Lionsmith and Colonel use to sustain the world. And Opus Magnum Ceruleum. Ambrose Westcott used to render the title of this venerable and anonymous work mockingly as The Big Blue Business. A kinder translation would be The Great Work in Azure. The reasons for Westcott's enmity to this work are clear to any pyroglyphicist. It is written at least 2 centuries before he was born, but anticipates or undermines many of his preferred conclusions. The work in question is the creation of the blue gold allegedly necessary for the terrible rite which allows a forge-long to become a name. The book mentions that pyroglyphics techniques can be used with forge to create iotic essence as a necessary component, but withholds the final step, insisting that the consequences are too dire and that any interest should remain only a matter of theory. Now, one very obvious step that I didn't take for the... I could have actually done this for Ragged Crossroads as well, but I don't need to give up the Wormwood Dream. I can just simply find something on the bridge that I don't have much use for. Release him to the wild. I could release it to the waves, the winds, or the sands, as it prefers. The winds in this case. And then because what this will do is this will give me an edge that I can use with sharps. So at this point, we are in good shape to... Sorry, let me just rearrange these. We're in good shape to get the... or to find out what the Kanishka the Spider's door was. And then while I'm at it... I think I've got a couple of these that I can go for, but I think the Sky and the Scar is the one that I want for its sky aspect. I mean, okay, from the title maybe you can derive that, but I just kind of want a Newman and reserve for actually, you know what? We'll take a bit of a flyer on this one because it's not like I have anything else to do with these elements of the soul. So let's see if I can get 4 more Grail and Sky, which that should be child's play at this point. So do a 7th voice. Okay, 3. Didn't even need to use the music. Well, maybe I'll need to use 1 music. Actually, Gossip will take us over the edge. Which... I reshelved the Gossip and then completely forgot where I put it. Right, up here. Do I want an insurance policy? I think I can do without. Skill is now level 6. Its power aspects have also increased. So this one, my decision's kind of made for me because I'm waiting for the loss. There were 2 of us, and now there's 1. All right, so I messed that one up, but we get another... Oh, yes, I forgot, actually. If I cast an object into the sea, it will be lost, perhaps irretrievably. Having the memories of all those fine times with the peeping chick before I let it fly off and become an adult. There we go. This is one of the drawbacks. It's actually kind of nice when you try to do different things. This is one of the reasons why I try and inject a little bit of novelty into the playthroughs. 1, it keeps it fresh for me, which is always nice. But number 2, little things like, oh yes, when you get rid of an animal, you don't necessarily get the same result as when you get rid of objects. It's a very easy heuristic to have in mind that it's like getting rid of things results in a results in loss. And for the most part, that's going to be true, but the exceptions kind of stick out in the mind. So it's that's why it's, I don't know. I wish my bridge was tidier, but at least it gives me that variety. Move gingerly while the pain lasts. Sharps. Obviously, this is one we want to get done because I'm relying on weaving the world. At last, I'm something of an authority in this. So if we if we're able to get the level from Applebright Euphonies, great. I'll take it. But Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. But I'm not overly committed to it. I think we will have enough time. The big question is if I didn't calculate the right number of memories, that would be the case where we don't get it. An afternoon spent profitably, reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers through the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. Okay. So, the account of Kanishk at the spider's door. Lok Kahuli, Kanishk's victim and lover, wrote this account, perhaps posthumously. Kanishk sought to become a name. In pursuit of that end, he made Lok Kahuli the vessel of his appetites, promising Lok that they would ascend together. At the spider's door, he betrayed his lover. The Chiliarch listened to it happen, and then forced Kanishk into his service. The Chiliarch cannot be denied. Lok Kahuli remained to write this work, and to describe the outer magics of struggle and contest. Stolen secret. I was definitely not expecting that one. So just as well we did it, and of course that really complicates my my shelving scheme. So much so, actually, that I think it makes more sense to move secret thresholds to that shelf, and then this can be stolen secrets. Yes, it would be nice if I had the inventory slots, but damn it, I need to have several pounds of fruits and vegetables in my pockets at all times. Now that I've got, I think once I finish these books here, but basically now that I've got a few more of the rooms of the library available for books as well, I'm going to allow myself, it's not just going to be Ava's desk that holds certain texts. I might, I might house them in the Long Tower, both Solomon's study and the bedroom. A Seventh Voice, Samuel Savage's cycle of comic poems about a band of players who double as footpads seeking a seventh member. Sir Sea-Snatch is distracted by Mistress Twitchshell kissing Mistress Netherpearls and fails to see Master Magglepie making off with the players' funds. The whole enterprise almost ends in disaster when Mistress Wandereye's family insults her costume and she burns down their house in a fit of pique. But the day is finally saved by the Seventh Voice, a wandering bookmonger who returns the band's lost music. Funny thing is, I don't think any of this is going to be related to the thing I want to upgrade, but that's fine. On Matthias and the Amethyst Imago, Pursuit, an account of an occult romance. A certain mech claims to have written this in a single night as part of his initiation into the Theban branch of the House of Leith, that order of immortals who use the arts of water to conceal themselves. Matthias defied us to hunt the names of the moth in the wood to populate his pin collection. The Amethyst Imago had dallied with the witch and sister, but she'd returned to the wood to plead the moth's pardon. The moth, as a whim or a penance, sent her out to lure the Long to a slough of nightmares. Matthias loved the Imago. Did he? Can Long love, or has that organ of their soul desiccated beyond repair? The Imago loved Matthias. did she? Or did she only enact a whim? He pursued her through the wood, but at last she turned aside from the nightmare slough, and they lay together where the bounds grow bright. So they learnt the Grail's pleasures, and this is the lore they won. De motu corporum veditorum. The author rejoices in the name of Abelard Hubris, and the title might be translated as On the Forbidden Motions of Bodies, evidently a reference to Newton's De motu corporum, published some 20 years previously. Hubris's thesis that stars, planets, and other bodies are the proxies or even the essences of the hours, and that conjunctions and occlusions reveal the outcome of our intrigues in the Mansus. Hubris declares that the Great Comet of 1577 was the physical embodiment of the hour named Madrugad, that it disintegrated but its fragments gravitate to bone marrow, where they can be located even now. He insists that aronoscopic techniques can be used with essential periost and sufficient sky to create a talisman centrifugic. All right, it's the Watchful Tantra, notorious for its involvement in the deaths of David Jones and Meredith Blaine, two early physicists who claimed to have the only copy, who ultimately fought a duel over it in 1840. The Tantra describes a process of occult illumination, including a formula which may show the way from the Hunter's Gate to the Serpent Gate, which is in the West is usually called the Spider's Door. The sun passes through the house at the appointed time. Since the sun's division, the time has become uncertain. 2 purifications and exaltations. I was not expecting that. I was, however, expecting revelation, so... The Sky and the Scar, gnomic exhortations that might be described as emergency procedures for the return of the traveling kinds of the Carapace Cross. Each page of this book except the last bears a single sign, clear and irrefutable as a gem. The final page is empty. The traveling kinds of the Carapace Cross might never return. Back into balance. When the traveling Carapace kinds passed beyond the wave and the sky, they made arrangements for their return. There are histories where those arrangements might be invoked. And finally, A Journey to the Grove. Black Ellie, who much later became Damascene matriarch of the Sisterhood of the Knot, recounts her journey to the Grove of Green Immortals. In the Grove, Ellie meets with an entity identified as Three Faces, Nine Colors, who may have become her lover. Three Faces is a name of the Applebright, the nowhere hour of youth, healing, and mutation. It offers Ellie a form of eternal youth to take back west with her, which she rejects for certain reasons. She does promise, however, to renew their acquaintance in the season when the Applebright is the witch, not from sentiment, but rather grandly to ensure the continuity of the histories. All right, we've got 2 seconds before we go to the next one. There is actually a side of me that wishes I had done one more memory. Actually, no, we should be fine. The skill is now level 6. Its power aspects have also increased. Applebright Euphonies. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so I think it's just back into balance. Yep. Yeah, so I do kind of wish that I'd done one other one, but that's fine. Foster Core. Or Arab. Yeah, we'll do the Arab. We should be fine in terms of recovering all of this in the morning, but just in case I'm not, I can at least get what I wanted from the Arab back from Metal. At last, I'm something of an authority in this. So with purifications and exaltations, I guess that means stitching and binding is up next. We were originally going to do that anyway. And then if I go by the old criteria I had, it probably would be where has she gone? Which I may need a Newman to properly read. In fact, I almost certainly need a Newman to properly read, so it might also be Songs of the Carapace Cross is the one I go for instead. All right, memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. So I did want to do just a small audit of my elements of the soul here. So 5 base core and then core plus plus. So that's the 6 that we've been targeting. 5 Arab and then Arab plus plus. So 6 again. Now this one's a little bit odd. So we've got FET and then 2 plus FET, which again is where I want it to be. In most circumstances, I'd actually feel okay, like moving, I'd feel okay, just having like 5 FET in total, but for now I'm, I don't need to make this more complicated. So we'll have enough for our salons, and then we'll think about next steps. Metal, again, we've got 6. Faust, we've got 6. Shapt, it's a little weird. So we've got 4 base, 1 plus, and then 1 plus plus. So that's 6, 4 and 2, and 5 and 1 with Whist as well. So again, I'm happy with where all of that is right now. And there's some very obvious places for us to advance that. One argument I would make, in fact, is that because we're really at this point here where the higher values matter more to me, I would make an argument that maybe advancing my health is the right call. Like, yes, we can do more gardening with it, but I'm already carrying so many things from the garden that it's kind of hard to defend in its current form. So I'm actually just going to take a quick minute here and say, so if we've got a health, a plus health already, so then it'd be 5 health to make a second plus health, which in the grand scheme translates to a plus plus health. So then we go to 3 to get a plus, and then 1 to get a plus, which gives me another plus plus. Yeah, so it's really tempting to go for a triple plus health. The only drawback behind it is that I'd only have 2 health to go with in the end. But it sounds fun, so I'm going to do it. That's not going to be an overwhelming urge to do that. I'll take the opportunities where they come up, but that doesn't work. Right, I keep getting this one wrong. This does, though. So Kilisimi, throw a couple health at it. Train my health. The wood is filled with life. You know what? Let's go all in on this, actually. So next up... Surely this is Bosk too, yeah. Yeah, this'll do. This'll do. Okay, I'm going to take a minute just to make sure that I'm doing this right, because if not, I've already committed myself to something kind of boneheaded. So this will get me the +1 health. So those 2 are going to turn into a +2. Yes, so if I can get 1 more of these, so much the better. Okay, Magaphine Mysteries is apparently the next one. So that was Preservation, which is good. And apparently I've also learned some new recipes, which is nice. So Preservation, the earth endures, and so do I. So clearly there's going to be some extra steps for me to get this to sort of the super health, but I'm okay waiting on that. Now, the next step that I want to work towards is moving up stitching and binding, seeing as that was part of the... that wound up being part of the plan. The other thing that I'm reflecting on is that spices and savors is not yet at 6, and we've got Kittling Ripe's Tasty Treat. So that strikes me as a really obvious candidate to move up. So I'm just going to change it around a little bit. If we use Natan's desk. So for that one, we can use Rites of the Roots. And I'll use a Fet on that one. I can master this mystery, enough nectar to match mystery nectar. So that one's dedicated to spices and savors. We've already got purifications and exaltations applied to stitching and binding. The real question here, though, is am I able to do anything with Songs of the Carapace Cross? And this is where sort of having the plus Fet and similar bonuses may pay off. Although, obviously, if I wanted to make the most of it, I would have pushed that even further. I also think I might have done something dumb here and used up the one desk that gives me... No. Collar's desk also gives me the moth that I need. So let's see if I can make this happen. I'm doubtful, but we'll see how it goes. So if I take Songs of the Carapace Cross and I apply Fusine... And then from there, I guess it's transformations and liberations, unless I've got a sneaky... Nope. Okay, so we've got 12. Now, one other option that I have there is the Shears of the Sisterhood. I could try some of these other things, but I mean, my main ink right now has been Catwink, and that doesn't really help me with this current book. So I need 3 more Moth. Or I take my chances. Actually, yeah. I don't think I get better. Oh, hang on. Does the Curious Hunch take... Ah, excellent. Because we'll be doing a Salon next. So yes, this does push us over the edge. Excellent. I can master this mystery. Enough Moth to match Mystery Moth. But I do need to think about what I'm going to use the Edict's Liminal for. So in this case, that gives us Knock and Moth. I don't see too many opportunities with the remaining texts here, to be honest. So I think at this point we need to think about the level 6 stuff that will move it up. So probably, I don't know, we've got Door and Wall for sure. Yeah, so I guess it's Solutions, Separations, Door and Wall, and Resurgences and Emergences. And that actually fits kind of tidily. But that will be something that we handle in the next episode. So this is going to be the sort of the big one for me to contend with. We will also use Kittling Ripe's Tasty Treats. And I don't know if we'll do this by the end of the season, but maybe one of the things I will want to do before tomorrow is make sure that I have a Newman that will work for Where Has She Gone? Just because with the 16 rows, I have something that I can apply towards it, right? So I've got 3 rows that I can work with. And then we've got Sky Stories with 9. I actually don't think I have a 10 Sky Stories. No, Pearl and Tide gives me 10. So, yeah, I mean, actually, you know what? Weirdly enough, with the plus Fet that I have, I could get by with an Occult Scrap or... an Occult Scrap or something like a Confounding Parable. So, I mean, how bold am I feeling, I suppose is the question. Maybe not one for this season, but we won't have as much trouble with Where Has She Gone? And then the rest of this is just kind of cleanup. I think probably Radical Measure Glossed might be one that's a little bit more involved. And then where I can, I'd like to avoid Surgeries and Exsanguinations. That's going to be a more heart-oriented one, so we probably use that with Quenchings and Quellings. But yeah, we're actually struggling a little bit to find applications for Wolf Stories and Rhyme and Remembrance. But again, at this point, as I've said a few times, like the excuse at this point is really just to read the relevant books. So if we don't have everything lifted up to 6, maybe we'll do a Salon next. So we'll see how it goes. So if I take Songs of the Carapace Cross and I apply Fusine, and then from there, I guess it's transformations and liberations. So that's fine. There's no, like, Weather Factory does not reach out of the monitor and slap me for not doing things the way that I'd intended. So we'll manage. One thing I do need to do is queue up the memories for for stitching and binding, not quenchings and quellings, but we'll do that in the next episode because I'm trying to keep these closer to the half-hour mark. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.